Arizona. And I tried to back him out. He's got food issues.
I want to thank our customers for their patience and understanding. I want to thank our commissioners for their unwavering support and guidance throughout this whole crisis. I want to thank the mayors of 3 owner cities for their assistance and cooperation. And I want to thank my staff for commitment to reaching this conclusion. They did an outstanding job, and they should be applauded. We know that with climate change and other economic issues that are going on that we cannot control, this could happen again, unfortunately. It's not a matter of if, but when. We can't let it happen again, and it should not have happened to begin with. We need to replace our open finished water reservoirs with enclosed tanks. You see the renderings on either side of what this particular reservoir will look like. We're in our 2nd decade of Safe Valley Water. In trying to do that, yet a small group of people continue to oppose our efforts because of aesthetic concerns. In 1975, there were over 700 reservoirs like this in use in the United States of America. Today, only 6 remain. 5 of them are in the state of New Jersey, and 3 of them are owned by Passaic Valley Water, including the new one. Our water quality professionals work hard to protect public health and safety, knowing the treated water will be stored in open reservoirs. We can't control it at this point. Everyone deserves clean water. Everyone. Water is a human right. Regardless of their economic or social class, everyone should have the right to clean, safe drinking water. Our next step, and my staff and my commissioners are ready, our next step has to be resolved by turning our focus to these open reservoirs. We know that we cannot treat these open reservoirs with the necessary corrosion control inhibitors that will stop the leaching of the lead into the water lines. We also know that these water lines that are lead must be replaced. Passaic Valley is doing everything that they can to make sure that we get this job done in a timely manner. Mr. President Cotton, good morning. We need the continued support of the mayors, commissioners, and the consumers so that we can close these reservoirs and protect the public health and safety. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. I'd like to echo the comments that have already been made, recognizing the individuals at Passaic Valley Water for their hard work in making sure that we can get to this date. Almost 6 weeks ago, the devastating impacts of Hurricane Ida not only disrupted the lives of residents throughout the entire county, we ended up having tragic loss of life. Families lost property, and their lives were completely devastated in certain areas, as I mentioned, with the loss of loved ones, and all this during a pandemic. Now, it's interesting that something so essential to life, like water, can also threaten life. And it is contaminated when there is a hurricane, when there is flooding. Throughout the past few weeks, we've had FEMA present in the city of Passaic, assisting individuals with the application process. We've had police and fire departments, as I see the deputy chief of Passaic and the fire chief of Patterson out distributing waters with their men to ensure that seniors and vulnerable families would have access to water. When the alert first came out, the alert that you had to boil water, that you cannot consume water, again, in the midst of a pandemic, after the impact of Ida, very hard. Imagine for all the families throughout the county. So to have this alert, to have this announcement today, it brings relief. Obviously, it's going to assist those who are finding it extremely difficult to come out to these sites every single day. And again, I need to applaud the Passaic Valley Water Commission and all of the municipalities that worked so hard to ensure that there were diverse areas or various areas where individuals could pick up water. But when you're a senior, when you're a single mother, when you're a family that depends on your job, finding those opportunities to run off to those places to get water because you don't have access to it in your home is not easy. So again, I'm so very glad and so very grateful. In regards to the fact that these storms are things that we need to expect, we no longer call them these 500-year storms, 100-year storms. They're coming more frequently. The science is available to us. The technology is there to let us know the direction that we have to take in the approach. We understand some of the pushback. It's not that we're callous or inconsiderate of the fact that there are impacts. Sometimes the arguments of aesthetics are dismissed. We get it. We understand that individuals who bought homes and property, and for the local officials, these are issues that ring strong. But we're talking about hundreds of thousands of families that were impacted in the county. We're talking about data and science that tells us that this will happen again. We don't want to see this another 6 weeks where families don't have access to water. Because even with all of the best efforts of communication, even with the remarkable commissioners that are here, like Commissioner Van Rensselaer and Commissioner Cotton, and these tremendous mayors, Mayor Anzaldi and Mayor Sayer, as they made sure that information got out to families through their department heads or utilizing social media, you can imagine there were still families that didn't know. Families that perhaps didn't have Facebook or didn't receive the information in time. And can we really ethically and responsibly say that if we don't do everything that we can to prevent this in the future, live with the fact that there will be families and children, pregnant mothers, individuals, seniors that may be exposed to contaminated water because we didn't do everything that we could? Obviously the answer is no. So I stand with the Passaic Valley Water Commission. I stand with these mayors. I stand with the officials around the area saying let's continue conversations as we move forward. Because if we don't take the right steps now, we will be back here again. Thank you so very much.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, our deep thanks to everyone who's been involved in this whole situation. Following 18 months of a horrible part of our lives, we get a flood, which affected so many people's lives, and that flood also affected our drinking water. So all those people who were involved in our emergency management system, all those people who were involved in fire and police, and all those people who were involved in distributing water, thank you. But most of all, thank the public for their general understanding of what was going on. The one thing that we all learned is that communication failed in some places. There was not enough ways to make the communication known that the water was contaminated. So I think what the future needs to bring is a better communication system, letting people know not only in the water situation, but in all emergency situations. Not everyone does Facebook. Not everyone has a webpage. Not everyone has a cell phone. Certainly here in our city of Clifton, we have a reverse 911 system that works very well to people with the old landline phones. But a lot of people didn't sign up for those programs, which we call SWIFT, that would have given them opportunity to get messages. So that's the first thing I think that we all in every city need to learn, including the Passaic Valley Water Commission, to come up with a better way of communicating with people. And secondly, this is a wake-up call about the reservoirs. The Passaic Valley has been fighting to get these tanks done. We have pictures here that are in front of us that really show the aesthetics really not affecting a whole lot. And I really beg the people in the two cities that are slowing this down to come to the conclusion that health and safety is more important than anything else. So on behalf of all of us in the city family, I thank everybody again for all their cooperation. Most importantly, the public who has been so great. Thank you again.
First, over 200,000 residents that have been inconvenienced it's safe to turn the tap back on. Brush your teeth, take a shower, drink the actual water as well. For anyone who questioned the decision to keep this boil water advisory in effect, it's because we have to err on the side of caution. We have to make sure that the water you're drinking is clean and it's safe. Because if this pandemic has taught us anything, crisis management is essential, as is communication with our community. So I salute all those that were on the front line, our first responders. Sadly, the sake lost individuals as a result. And Patterson almost did too. But if it wasn't for our fire department led by our fire chief, Brian McDermott, we would have lost an individual who was stuck underneath a bridge. Thanks to a daring rescue, we were able to bring him to safety. I commend Ron Van Clive, our director, at that time the acting director of the Office of Emergency Management, because we couldn't quickly redeploy with our public works department at the St. Valley Water Commission and made sure that we had not only drinking water distribution sites, but that we got supermarkets involved to make it even more accessible for our residents as well. Mayor Zaldi, you talked about a wake-up call. We already issued the clarion call to the Captain's Reservoir. We did this over a year ago. Further delay means further damage. And quite frankly, I don't care what it looks like. I don't care what it tastes like. We care that the water is clean and safe to drink. So again, we're here to reiterate, not only are we telling people that the boil water advisory has been lifted, that you can turn the tap back on, but we're saying we got to put the caps on these reservoirs. Now, more than ever, we have to do this. Because you're right, Mayor Laura, climate change is real. If you don't believe it, you need a reality check. Because the storms are more frequent and more fierce. And sadly, in this case, more deadly. We stand in solidarity, stating that we have to tap these reservoirs immediately. The protection of the people that we protect and serve. At this time, I'll call for the chairwoman of the St. Valley Water Commission Board, Ruby Cotton.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you to the Mayor for the sake of Clifton. First, I want to say good morning, and I want to say to 250,000 customers that was affected with this warm water load, I want to say thank you to you out there for having the patience with us to make sure that we were able to get this reservoir back online. I want to thank also our St. Valley Water workers. I was out here on Saturday morning when they first started the process of pumping out and bringing in new water. And I can say they did an outstanding job. And I want to say to everyone who works with the St. Valley Water, thank you for everything that you've done, everything that you did for to make sure that we got into the mayors, for helping with the reverse 911, for helping with getting the word out, for helping to do everything. I had an incident with a lady who was deaf. She happened to email me that she needed water. And I automatically contacted the St. Valley Water, who then contacted my OEM director, Van Clyde, to make sure that this lady, but there were other instances. I came to different distribution sites with my fellow commissioners and and I can say all our commissioners from the 3 cities, we have 7 commissioners, Commissioner Friend and Commissioner Pelosi from Clifton, Commissioner Van Rensselaer and Commissioner Sanchez from the same, Commissioner Devine and Commissioner Nicole, and myself from Patterson. We were with you. And I want to say to Lou, interim executive director, we were there every day. Everyone was out here every day to make sure that we did what we do. But now, with climate change coming, this is not going to be another 100 years. This is going to be sooner than we think. And so we have to make sure that we do what's right to make sure that we can provide clean, safe drinking water to our residents here in St. County to make sure that everything gets done. And once again, to you all out there, the customers, thank you for having the patience with us so we can get this back going again. Thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. I want to start out with thanking my fellow commissioners and all of the professionals at the St. Valley Water Commission for all of their hard work and dedication in addressing and mitigating this boil water emergency. Our Passaic Valley staff, they were working around the clock, committed to making our drinking water safe for all of our customers. I want to thank all of the mayors and their leadership and their messaging and getting the word out to the public pertaining to the emergency. Thank you to all the volunteers involved in the bottled water distribution efforts throughout the owner cities during this crisis. And I especially want to give a shout out and special thank you to Lou Amodio, who did an excellent job, outstanding job in coordinating our efforts in resolving this matter and keeping everyone well informed. I know I speak for the commission as a whole. We look forward to working with all of the stakeholders to implement solutions to mitigate this type of crisis in the future. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioner Rensselaer. I just want to say special thanks. I'm sorry, gentlemen. OEM, Ron Van Clyde Patterson, Fire Chief McDermott Patterson, Captain Louis Gentile. I'm sorry, Deputy Chief Gentile. Sorry, Lou. City of Passaic. Trooper Al Polanco, who's been with us from the beginning, leading us every morning at 11:30 with a status update, as well as coordinating all of the efforts to get the water to the distribution sites. It was not an easy task, but thank you. I want to thank the rest of your team as well, the State Police, Office of Emergency Management. I want to thank New Jersey Homeland Security, and I also would like to thank the National Guard. Everyone was involved. This was a tremendous effort, and it could not have been done without everyone involved doing their part. Thank you. Any questions?
Christy with WCBS, just how long will this project, is it expected to take?
Which project?
I think you're changing the maps.
Okay, so our first reservoir to be capped is the Levine Reservoir. We've had some pushback on that because of some concerns about the historic nature of the reservoir. Anyway, we're close to getting our permits in line. Hopefully we can get shovels in the ground for that project sometime early spring, we're hoping. And once that's done, we have the approvals and we have the design for the new street, as you can see here. This is the reservoir behind us. Once we get the shovels in the ground at Levine, we're going to then turn our attention here. And we're working with the city of Newark on a joint venture, which hopefully will allow us not to use the Great Notch Reservoir, but share in their reservoir in Cedar Grove. And the Great Notch Reservoir can stay the way it is without being encapsulated or tanked. So we're hoping that it'll be maybe a 2-year project to get the line completed at this point. And again, it all depends on, getting the opposition to not oppose it anymore. The mayor's talked about the science. The science is on our side. We understand history. Teacher. We understand the history, but it's all about the science. And we know what needs to be done. Again, over 700 back in the mid-70s. 6 left today. 5 in New Jersey. Okay? We can't allow this. We can do better. It's 2021. It's 2021. To allow this to occur in today's day and age, it's ridiculous.
Mr. Modio, if you don't understand how this happened and why it just lasted so long, can you break down how the water became compromised, contaminated, and what the process was to reverse it?
So up the road here,
Hi, Mayor.
up the road here, the berm was compromised. So the flooding came down from the mountain and into the reservoir. It turned it into what looked like a mud pit. Here we have pictures online. your lab director, Suzanne, Dr. DiLorenzo, had aerial photos. I would ask everybody to go to PVWC.com and see what it looked like right after the storm. Once that was done, you know, obviously we put the boil water notice out there, working with the DEP to get that done. Again, staff work around the clock, 7 days a week. And they gave up their weekends with their families, nights in the office. You know, I don't know how many of them took a nap during the day, but it's okay. So what was done after that, the plan was to pump the contaminated water out of the reservoir. Doing that took around 7 days or so. And the next phase was testing to make sure that the reservoir no longer had the contaminants that were in it prior. Once that was done, we then got the okay to go out and flush over 4,000 fire hydrants in the service area that was affected. 4,000. That covered about 550 miles of pipe. Okay. After that was done, it went back to the testing phase, and the requirement was to have 3 days of negative coliform tests. We were able to accomplish that. We then sat down with the DEP, reviewed the data, and got the go-ahead. Yeah.
So it was crappy water. Literally.
Lack of a better word.
Yeah, so if you look at it today, although it's cleaner, you have ducts that sit there. Well, for the people who use this reservoir, that are served by this reservoir, when they open their tap, that's the water they get, right here, with the ducts floating in it and all the other contaminants from the air, so on and so forth. So we're not there yet. The mayor's saying we have to get there. We have to get there soon. We're not that.
Price tag on capping reservoirs.
Well, as we know, with all kinds of increases, and the fact that we've been delayed, we're in our second decade trying to get this done. Our initial estimate was probably about 120 million to do that. Yes, Richard.
St. Valley Water Commission or any of the 3 member cities received any complaints from residents that felt that they had been sickened by consuming the water?
Not to my knowledge.
No. Not complaints, Rich. You know what we did receive? A lot of concerns and anxiety. What happens is with a process like this, you just don't know when it's going to end. You know, we say words like it was an inconvenience, but for some families, and I want to thank the St. Valley Water for taking the bold initiative to give a $25 credit. For certain families who are living day by day and making sure they have enough money for prescriptions, for food, when they would miss those water distributions, they would have to go out and try to find water. You can imagine there were shortages around. So the families I know in my city, they were very concerned. Pat had asked something that was interesting. Why did it take this long? I would have said, forgive me, I think it was a great answer, to get it right. Oftentimes, black and brown communities are concerned that everything isn't going to be done that needs to be done to ensure that good quality water is available for all families, regardless of your background or your economic status. So for many families, of course, they want to know when this would end, but they wanted to know if it's going to be done right. So the calls that I received, I mean, this is where the flood. We were flooded with the calls at City Hall going, when will the boil alert be lifted? And what's going on with the water? Is it okay to drink right now? And to answer them most candidly, whether it is or not, isn't the important thing. Is will it be clean going forward? Will they be able to ensure that everything that they have in place, your family can be confident that whether you're giving water to your beloved pet, or whether you're brushing your teeth, or whether you're consuming the water directly, that everyone can feel confident that they have done everything that they needed to do. So when residents went around and saw all those fire hydrants, 4,000 fire hydrants, I'm sure other mayors received the calls, why are the fire hydrants still on? What's going on in our city? And I was proud to be able to respond, to give the retort because Passaic Valley Water is doing everything that they need to do to ensure that the water can be once again safe for everyone.
Thank you, Mayor.
That was a great answer.
Madison's going.
So this is round two. Round two. We're here twice.
Yes.
The third
Actually, his
time-
predecessor was here.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if we use the baseball metaphor or whatever, round three. When we get here, round
We're in
three.
the third inning.
You know. So what could you guys say to the media that the message could be out there other than what you said, but a short, quick message, a bite that we can grab and say, okay, we can throw this on every social media platform. What is that?
To use your analogy, we want to be back here for round 4. So this should turn into Groundhog Day. Like I stated before, it's not just a wake-up call. We've issued the clarion call. Now's the time for action. Our residents are counting on us. And if this didn't explicitly make it clear that we need to cap those reservoirs, I don't know what will. And we want to avert putting people in peril. And that's what's needed. It's something I said? Okay.
He's saying the water's okay, or the water isn't okay?
Yeah, Pat, I think Pat, a lot of
But the water
concern-
isn't okay.
Pat, to answer your question, a lot of people are concerned about the aesthetic appeal, what it's going to look like when they drive by. And quite frankly, if you see, there isn't that much of a difference. It's not really stark in those renderings. So clearly that's not going to pose a problem. What the problem is, if we keep coming back and saying, well, we need to cap this reservoir, and it hasn't happened, that we're having the same conversation, that's where it's a disservice to our residents. So more than anything, it's the aesthetic appeal of the landscape.
I would add,
Are they
the
talking about
question that needs to be asked is, what's the right thing to do? What's the right thing to do? Not what's most convenient,
have water.
not
It's
what's
really hard.
most aesthetically pleasing. What's the right thing to do? Because we're talking about lives. We're talking about children. We're talking about families. We're talking about the potential for contamination for water. We're talking about clean water, an essential for life.
Yeah.
So that conversation, and I want to be clear, I said this before and I'll reiterate. Look, I get it. There are families that live right here and they have a right to be concerned. They have a right to ask the questions. They have a right to say, show me the science, convince me, because that's appropriate. All of us chose where we live for a reason. And when there's ever going to be a change, whether it's development or something that is going to drastically impact what you perceive to be either property values or anything else, you have a right to come to government and say, look, you don't just get to autocratically make decisions. We need to be a part of the process. But I think what has been repeated over and over is we've been here before. The science has been presented. We've seen over the past 6 weeks how families were denied access to water in their own homes. They were not allowed to turn on their taps and drink or brush their teeth or be concerned whether they're going to give this water to their pets. Seniors had to find a way to one of these distribution sites or hope that one of the municipalities were going to deliver the water to them. For over 6 weeks, after already dealing with the devastating impact of Ida, after having basements flooded, after having cars completely ruined, and then going over to their insurance companies and finding out that they're not going to be covered. After finding out that all of this occurred and still in a pandemic, to be told this may happen again. When? We don't know, but we're pretty sure it's going to happen again. So we want to do everything again that's possible to protect the lives of every single resident in every municipality, all the hundreds and thousands of individuals, all of the families, all of the children. Because as I said before, communication, as effective as we want it to be, there are families that don't speak English. So maybe they didn't read it. There are families that don't have social media. There are families that are still displaced. In the city of Passaic, we had families up to a couple days ago that were still in hotels because they didn't have access back into their homes because of Ida. So again, I think it's a very simple question, a very clear question. What is the right thing to do? And if the right thing to do is to cap these bodies of water to ensure that everyone has access to quality, safe drinking water, then I think we all have the same answer.
See, it's not just a matter of environmental justice, it's about social justice as well. Richard.
What has been the cost so far of the cleanup? And what do you anticipate will be ultimately the final cost of the cleanup and the water distribution office?
Well, it would be a guesstimate on what the final cost is gonna be, but we're close to $3 million. How much? 3 million. Okay. The water is treated. That water comes right from the plant. It's treated. And
Yeah,
that,
we know that, but why if it is a holding vessel in essence, why not treat it after it comes out? Treatment after it comes out would be fairly simple.
well,
I mean, you're talking about
it's not simple,
it's
sir.
essentially bacterial treatment, right?
it's not that simple. We wish it was that simple. You know, we're not here. I'm sorry. We're not here to hurt anybody. We're here to help people.
Why is
And
the
it's
mayor
not-
here of
it's
West
not-
Patterson, of Woodland Park? Why isn't that mayor here?
Because he's not one of the owner cities. Woodland Park is
Sorry?
not. Woodland Park does not own Safe Valley.
I know he
Safe
doesn't own
has
Safe
a-
Valley, but he certainly has very strong views about what the Safe Valley Water
Well,
District
we
wishes to do.
serve.
Why would he not be present? I mean, this is taking place in his town.
There's 110 residents of Woodland Park that are on the Safe Valley system. They live right over here, right next to the reservoir. That's it. The rest of the town does not get fed off of the Blue Street Reservoir.
So are you suggesting that the mayor of Woodland Park has no interest in its place? Is that what you're suggesting?
Sir, I'd rather not go into this. This is about health and
Yeah,
safety.
I mean, it's
Okay. Well, I appreciate the comment. I want to go back to Mayor Laura when he said it's about doing the right thing, not doing it in a speedy, let's just get it done. We want to make sure we get it right, and that's the key, getting it right.
That's right.
Not worrying about getting it quickly, but getting it right. And again, the science is on our side. Okay, there's no reason in 2021 that this is occurring. It's terrible.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Paul. And I thought I saw Tony Caputo. Where'd he go?